Marcus Chin wiped the grease from his hands as the maintenance alarm echoed through the cargo bay of Station Kepler 442. The massive orbital platform hung in the void between stars, serving as humanity's furthest outpost in the Andromeda sector. As the station's chief engineer, Marcus had grown accustomed to emergency calls, but something felt different about this one. The distress signal had come from an unregistered vessel drifting near the station's outer perimeter. The ship's design was unlike anything in the human databases. Organic curves blended with metallic surfaces, creating something that looked almost alive. When the docking clamps finally secured the mysterious craft, Marcus was among the first responders to board. The interior of the alien vessel defied explanation. Walls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, and the air hummed with an energy that made his skin tingle. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows as Marcus and his team navigated corridors that seemed to shift and breathe around them. The ship's life support systems were failing, and whatever had brought this vessel here, its occupants were in serious trouble. They found her in what appeared to be the ship's medical bay, surrounded by equipment that looked more like art than technology. The alien girl couldn't have been more than 16 by human standards, though Marcus knew appearances could be deceiving when it came to other species. Her skin had a faint blue tint, and intricate silver markings traced along her arms and neck. She was unconscious, hooked to machines that beeped in patterns that meant nothing to human medicine. Dr. Sarah Rodriguez, the station's xenobiologist, ran her scanners over the girl while Marcus examined the failing life support systems. Her physiology is remarkably similar to human, Sarah reported, her voice filled with wonder. Same basic organ structure, compatible blood chemistry. It's like looking at an evolutionary cousin. Marcus managed to reroute power from the ship's backup systems, buying them precious time. As the medical equipment stabilized, the alien girl's eyes fluttered open. They were large and violet, filled with intelligence and something that looked like desperate fear. She spoke in a language that the universal translators couldn't immediately process, but her tone was unmistakably pleading. The translation matrix finally clicked into place, and her words came through the comm system with startling clarity. "Please," she whispered, reaching toward Marcus with a trembling hand. "Please pretend you're my father." Her brain chemistry, her neural pathways, they're showing signs of genetic modification on a scale I've never seen before. Before Marcus could respond, the station's proximity alarms began blaring. 3 massive ships had just dropped out of hyperspace, their hulls bearing the distinctive markings of the hegemony, a militaristic alien empire that had been expanding aggressively through this sector. The ships were sleek and predatory, bristling with weapons that could reduce Station Kepler 442 to debris in minutes. Commander Janet Torres's voice crackled through the comm system from the station's bridge. "All departments report to emergency stations. We have incoming vessels demanding permission to board and search for a fugitive." "This is not a drill." Zara gripped Marcus's arm with surprising strength. "They're here for me," she said, panic creeping into her voice. "The hegemony thinks I'm just another refugee, but I'm not. I'm their greatest weapon and their greatest failure. If they take me back..." Marcus looked into her eyes and saw something that reminded him of his own daughter, who had died in the colony attacks 3 years earlier. The same intelligence, the same desperate need for protection. Without fully understanding why, he found himself nodding. "What do you need me to do?" "Just be my father," Zara said, tears forming in her violet eyes. "They're looking for an escaped experiment, not a human family. If they believe you're my parent, they might not look too closely." Dr. Rodriguez was already pulling up genetic modification programs on her tablet. "If we're going to do this, we need to make it convincing," she said. "I can alter her surface biosignatures to appear more human, but it won't fool a detailed scan." The station shuddered as the hegemony ships moved into docking position. Marcus made his decision with the kind of quick thinking that had kept him alive through countless emergencies. "Do it," he told Sarah, then turned to Zara. "Listen carefully. You're my daughter, adopted when you were young. You've been living on the station your whole life. Can you remember that story?" Zara nodded, though Marcus could see the effort it took for her to control her fear. As Dr. Rodriguez worked frantically to modify the girl's biosignature, Marcus helped Zara to her feet. She was taller than he'd expected, nearly reaching his shoulder, and moved with a grace that seemed almost supernatural. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed through the corridor outside. The hegemony boarding party was making their way through the station, searching every compartment with military precision. Marcus could hear them questioning other crew members, their voices cold and authoritative. "Remember," Marcus whispered to Zara as they prepared to face whatever came next, "you're safe now. Whatever you're running from, whatever they did to you, you're under human protection now." Zara squeezed his hand, and, for a moment, Marcus felt the strangest sensation, as if her touch carried some kind of energy that made him stronger, more confident. "Thank you," she whispered. "You don't know what this means to me, or what it might cost you." The door to the medical bay slid open, and 3 hegemony soldiers entered, their armor gleaming black and silver. Their faces were hidden behind angular helmets, but their posture radiated menace. Behind them came a figure that made Zara stiffen with recognition, a tall, gaunt alien with pale skin and eyes like chips of ice. "I am Inquisitor Vex of the Hegemony Security Council," the pale figure announced, his voice carrying an authority that seemed to fill the room. "We are searching for a dangerous fugitive. All personnel will submit to immediate biological scanning." Marcus stepped protectively in front of Zara, channeling every protective instinct he'd ever felt. "This is my daughter," he said, his voice steady despite the racing of his heart. "She's been under medical care following an accident in the lower decks." Inquisitor Vex's ice-blue eyes fixed on Zara, studying her with an intense. Marcus felt the weight of Inquisitor Vex's stare like a physical presence in the medical bay. The hegemony officer's pale fingers drummed against his weapon's grip, while his ice-blue eyes continued their examination of Zara. Every instinct told Marcus to step back, to apologize, to hand over the girl, and hope for mercy. Instead, he moved closer to Zara, placing a protective hand on her shoulder. "My daughter was injured in a plasma conduit explosion," Marcus said, improvising quickly. "Dr. Rodriguez has been treating her for cellular damage. The medical procedures might have affected her appearance temporarily." Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward, her medical tablet displaying fabricated treatment records she'd hastily created. "The plasma exposure caused some unusual pigmentation changes," she explained, her voice professionally calm despite the sweat beading on her forehead. "It should normalize over the next few weeks." Zara leaned slightly against Marcus, playing her part perfectly. He could feel her trembling slightly, but when she spoke, her voice carried the right mixture of confusion and fatigue. "Papa, why are these people here? Am I in trouble?" The word "Papa" hit Marcus like a bolt of electricity. Something about the way Zara said it, with such genuine need and trust, awakened protective instincts he thought had died with his real daughter. He squeezed her shoulder gently, surprised by how natural the gesture felt. Inquisitor Vex circled them slowly, like a predator evaluating prey. "Plasma exposure," he mused, his voice carrying dangerous skepticism. "How convenient. Perhaps you won't mind if we conduct our own medical examination?" Commander Torres chose that moment to enter the medical bay, her command presence filling the space. Janet Torres had served in 3 wars and commanded respect from every species humanity had encountered. She looked at the hegemony soldiers with the kind of cold professionalism that made it clear she was not impressed by their intimidation tactics. "Inquisitor Vex," Torres said, her voice carrying the authority of someone who wouldn't be pushed around. "I wasn't aware the hegemony had jurisdiction over human medical procedures. My crew is operating under interstellar law, providing humanitarian aid to an injured child." The tension in the room ratcheted up several notches. Marcus realized they were walking a dangerous tightrope. Push too hard, and the hegemony might decide to take what they wanted by force. Don't push hard enough, and they might not respect human sovereignty. "The fugitive we seek is extremely dangerous," Vex replied, his tone becoming more aggressive. "She possesses capabilities that could threaten entire star systems. Any family resemblance could be artificially created through genetic manipulation." Zara's grip on Marcus's hand tightened, and he felt that strange energy again, stronger this time. For just a moment, his perception seemed to expand, as if he could sense the emotions of everyone in the room. Vex's suspicion was mixed with something else, fear. The Inquisitor was afraid of what he was hunting. What kind of capabilities? Marcus asked, the question slipping out before he could stop himself. What makes this fugitive so dangerous that the mighty hegemony sends an inquisitor to hunt down what appears to be a teenager? Dr. Rodriguez shot him a warning look, but Marcus pressed on. Sometimes the best defense was a good offense, especially when dealing with bullies. Because from where I stand, it looks like you're terrorizing a station full of civilians to hunt down a child. Inquisitor Vex's pale face flushed with anger. The subject possesses psionic abilities that have been artificially enhanced beyond safe parameters, he said, his composure finally cracking. She can influence minds, manipulate matter at the molecular level, and access quantum fields in ways that defy understanding. In the wrong hands, such power could reshape reality itself. The medical bay fell silent. Marcus felt Zara's hand tremble in his, and he realized the magnitude of what he'd gotten himself into. The girl standing beside him wasn't just an alien refugee. She was something far more significant and dangerous. The hegemony created her, Vex continued, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. She is our property, our weapon, and our responsibility. We will retrieve what belongs to us. Commander Torres stepped between the Inquisitor and Marcus's makeshift family. Property, she said, her voice carrying decades of military command. The Galactic Convention specifically prohibits the treatment of sentient beings as property. If this girl is capable of the abilities you describe, then she's clearly sentient and therefore protected under interstellar law. The hegemony does not recognize human interpretations of galactic law, Vex replied coldly. Then, perhaps it's time you learned to, Torres shot back. Marcus felt the conversation spiraling toward violence. The hegemony soldiers were shifting their stance, hands moving closer to their weapons. He needed to defuse the situation, but how do you negotiate with people who view other beings as property? That's when Zara made her move. She stepped forward, moving with that supernatural grace, and looked directly at Inquisitor Vex. When she spoke, her voice carried a harmonious quality that seemed to resonate in the air itself. Inquisitor Vex, she said, and Marcus could swear he felt power flowing through her words. You speak of property and weapons, but you forget something important. I chose to leave. I chose freedom over servitude. And now I choose family over fear. The air in the medical bay shimmered slightly, and Marcus felt a subtle shift in the room's atmosphere. The hegemony soldiers looked confused, their hostile postures relaxing slightly. Even Vex seemed momentarily disoriented, blinking rapidly as if trying to clear his vision. You see, Zara continued, her violet eyes meeting the Inquisitor's ice-blue stare. The power you gave me comes with understanding. You're not afraid of what I might do to others. You're afraid of what I might teach them about themselves. Marcus didn't fully understand what was happening, but he could feel the change in the room's energy. Dr. Rodriguez was staring at her readings in amazement, while Commander Torres watched the exchange with the calculating gaze of a seasoned tactician. Inquisitor Vex struggled to maintain his composure, but something in Zara's presence was clearly affecting him. You cannot escape what you are, he said, but his voice lacked its earlier conviction. The modifications are permanent. You will always be what we made you. No, Zara replied, and Marcus felt a surge of pride that surprised him with its intensity. I am what I choose to be, and I choose to be his daughter. She turned to Marcus with a smile that seemed to light up the entire medical bay. In that moment, Marcus understood that this wasn't just about protecting a refugee anymore. Somehow, impossibly, this strange alien girl with violet eyes and impossible abilities had become family. The standoff continued for several more tense seconds before Inquisitor Vex finally stepped back. This is not over, he warned, his pale features twisted with frustration. The hegemony does not forget. We do not forgive. And we do not abandon our property. Then, I guess you'll have to learn to live with disappointment, Commander Torres replied smoothly. Because this girl is now under the protection of the Earth Colonial Alliance. Any attempt to remove her against her would be considered an act of war. 3 days after the hegemony's departure, Station Kepler 442 hummed with an energy that had nothing to do with its fusion reactors. Marcus had converted his quarters to accommodate Zara, and the strange alien girl who called him Papa was proving to be full of surprises. She learned human customs with remarkable speed, but it was her other abilities that truly amazed the station's crew. Dr. Rodriguez had been running discrete tests, and the results defied explanation. Zara could manipulate matter at the molecular level, turning base metals into complex alloys with just a touch. She could sense mechanical problems in the station's systems before the diagnostic computers detected them. Most remarkably, she seemed to enhance the capabilities of anyone she worked closely with. Marcus discovered this firsthand when they tackled a particularly difficult repair in the station's main power core. What should have taken hours of careful work with multiple technicians was completed in less than an hour with just the two of them. Zara's presence somehow made Marcus's hands steadier, his thinking clearer, his understanding of complex systems more intuitive. "It's not just fixing things, is it?" Marcus asked as they finished installing a new plasma relay that should have been impossible for two people to handle. "You're making me better at my job." Zara smiled, her violet eyes sparkling with something that looked like mischief. "The hegemony called it enhancement through quantum resonance," she explained, her voice carrying technical knowledge that seemed far beyond her apparent age. "When I'm close to someone I trust, we create a feedback loop that improves both our capabilities." "And you trust me?" Marcus asked, surprised by how much her answer mattered to him. "You asked me to pretend you were my father," Zara replied, her expression becoming more serious. "But I've stopped pretending. You are my father now, in every way that matters. Trust doesn't even begin to cover what I feel." The conversation was interrupted by Commander Torres's voice over the comm system. "All senior staff to the briefing room. We have incoming traffic, and it's not the hegemony." Marcus and Zara made their way to the command deck, where they found the senior staff gathered around the main display. 3 ships hung in space near the station, sleek vessels with organic curves that looked remarkably similar to Zara's original craft. "They're from the ethereal fleet," Zara whispered, her face paling. "My people." Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kim, the station's communications officer, looked up from her console. "They're requesting permission to dock. They claim to be on a diplomatic mission, but their ships are armed with some kind of energy weapons I've never seen before." Commander Torres studied the tactical display with the calculating gaze that had served her well in 3 wars. "What's your assessment, Chief Chen?" she asked Marcus. "From an engineering perspective, what are we looking at?" Marcus examined the ship's configurations, his enhanced understanding making details jump out that he might have missed before. "Their power signatures are off the charts," he reported. "Whatever drives those ships, they're operating on principles we don't understand. And those weapon systems." He paused, realizing something disturbing. "Commander, those aren't just weapons. They're the same kind of technology that created Zara." All eyes turned to the alien girl, who was staring at the display with an expression Marcus couldn't quite read. Fear was there, but also sadness, and something that looked like longing. "They're here for me," Zara said quietly. "But not to rescue me. The ethereal fleet thinks I've been compromised by hegemony programming. They're here to clean up their mistake." Dr. Rodriguez leaned forward in her chair. "What kind of mistake?" Zara took a deep breath, and Marcus could see her gathering courage to explain something painful. "I was stolen from them when I was very young. The hegemony took me and tried to weaponize my abilities. But what they didn't understand is that my people don't just have psionic powers. We have moral imperatives built into our genetic code. We can't use our abilities to harm innocent beings. So the hegemony's weapon project failed," Torres concluded. "Worse," Zara replied. "It created something they couldn't control. Every enhancement they gave me also strengthened my moral compass. Eventually, I became powerful enough to escape, but also too dangerous to let live. The hegemony wants to recapture me for study. My own people want to destroy me to prevent my abilities from being used for evil." Marcus felt that protective surge again, stronger than ever. "And what do you want?" Zara looked at him with those violet eyes that seemed to hold depths of wisdom and pain. "I want to stay here. I want to learn what it means to be part of a human family. I want to use my abilities to help people instead of hurt them." The comm system crackled to life with an incoming transmission. The alien voice that emerged spoke in the same melodious tones as Zara, but with an authority that brooked no argument. "Station Kepler, 442, This is Fleet Commander Kithara of the Ethereal Defense Council. We know you are harboring the entity designated as Zara Prime. She is a contaminated asset that poses a threat to galactic stability. Surrender her immediately, or we will be forced to take more direct action. Commander Torres activated the reply channel. Fleet Commander, this is Commander Janet Torres of the Earth Colonial Alliance. The individual you seek has requested asylum under interstellar law. We are prepared to discuss the matter through proper diplomatic channels. The response came quickly, and it carried a tone of barely controlled fury. Humans do not understand the magnitude of the threat you are protecting. Zara Prime possesses abilities that could unravel the fabric of reality itself if corrupted further. We will not allow her existence to endanger the galaxy. Marcus stepped forward to the comm station. This is Chief Engineer Marcus Chun. Zara is my daughter, and she's under human protection. If you want to threaten her, you'll have to go through me. The silence that followed seemed to stretch for an eternity. When Fleet Commander Kithara finally responded, her voice carried a note of surprise. Impossible. Zara Prime cannot form family bonds with non-ethereal beings. Her genetic programming prevents such attachments. Zara moved to stand beside Marcus at the comm station. When she spoke, her voice carried that harmonic quality again, but stronger now, more confident. Fleet Commander Kithara, you are wrong about many things. I can form family bonds because love transcends genetic programming. I choose to stay here because these humans have shown me something my own people never could: unconditional acceptance. The response was immediate and chilling. If you will not surrender the corrupted asset, then we will cleanse the entire station to prevent contamination spread. You have 1 hour to reconsider. The transmission cut off, leaving the briefing room in tense silence. Marcus looked around at the faces of his crewmates, people who had become family over the years of working together in the depths of space. They were good people, dedicated people, and they didn't deserve to die because he'd chosen to protect one lost girl. I should go with them, Zara said quietly. I won't let innocent people die for my sake. Absolutely not, Marcus replied, his voice firm with paternal authority. We don't abandon family. Ever. Commander Torres stood up, her command presence filling the room. Chief Chen is right. We don't negotiate with terrorists, whether they're human or alien. If the ethereal fleet wants a fight, they'll get one. Dr. Rodriguez was already working at her tablet, analyzing the data from the ethereal ships. Commander, their energy signatures are similar to what I've been detecting from Zara. I think her abilities might be more compatible with their technology than we realized. Marcus looked at Zara, seeing a new possibility forming. Could you interface with their ship's systems? Zara's eyes widened as she understood what he was suggesting. I think so. But it would require me to fully manifest my abilities. There would be no hiding what I am after that. Good, Marcus said, surprising himself with his conviction. I'm tired of hiding. It's time to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten a human family. The hour deadline passed with Station Kepler 442 ready for war. Marcus had never imagined he'd spend his career as an engineer preparing to fight aliens with powers beyond human understanding. But here he was, working alongside Zara to turn their orbital platform into something the ethereal fleet had never encountered before. Zara's abilities had grown exponentially as she stopped hiding them. She moved through the station's systems like digital lightning, enhancing everything she touched. Weapons that had been designed for defense against pirates and raiders were now operating at efficiency levels that defied physics. Shield generators hummed with power that shouldn't have been possible with human technology. How are you doing this? Dr. Rodriguez asked, monitoring the cascade of improvements flowing through the station's systems. I'm not changing the technology, Zara explained as her hands moved over the engineering controls within human grace. I'm changing the quantum fields that the technology operates within. It's like improving the universe's operating system to make everything run better. Marcus watched his daughter work with a mixture of pride and amazement. 3 days ago, she'd been a terrified refugee. Now she was demonstrating capabilities that redefined what he thought was possible. The first ethereal ship began its attack run at exactly 61 minutes after the deadline. It moved with fluid grace, its organic curves allowing it to flow through space like a living creature. Energy beams lanced out from weapon ports that looked more like flowering petals than gun barrels. Commander Torres coordinated the defense from the bridge, while Marcus and Zara worked from the engineering deck. The station's defensive grid came alive, but instead of the standard energy barriers, Zara had created something entirely new, a shield that seemed to bend reality around the station. The ethereal weapon struck the barrier and simply stopped, not absorbed or deflected, but suspended in the quantum foam that Zara had woven around the station. The energy hung there like frozen lightning, beautiful and terrifying. Impossible, came Fleet Commander Kithra's voice over the comm, no longer controlled and authoritative. No known technology can manipulate quantum fields on this scale. Zara activated the reply channel herself, her voice carrying harmonics that made the air shimmer. You're right, Fleet Commander. No known technology can do this. But I'm not using technology. I'm using something the hegemony couldn't understand, and you chose to forget the power of family bonds. Marcus felt that enhancement effect again, but stronger now, as if Zara's emotional state was amplifying their connection. His understanding of the station's systems expanded beyond anything he'd thought possible. He could perceive the flow of energy through every circuit, the stress patterns in every structural beam, the quantum fluctuations in every piece of equipment. The second ethereal ship joined the attack, its weapons blazing with increased intensity. The suspended energy from the first barrage began to pulse and writhe as new attacks joined it in the quantum suspension field. Marcus realized what Zara was building, not just a defense, but a weapon that would use the enemy's own power against them. Zara, he said, understanding flooding through him, you're not just stopping their attacks. You're storing them. She nodded, her violet eyes blazing with concentration and something that looked like joy. Every shot they fire makes us stronger. But that's not the most important part, Papa. Watch what happens when people who truly care about each other refuse to give up. The third ethereal ship moved into position, but instead of attacking, it began broadcasting on all frequencies. Zara Prime, this is Subcommander Yenth, your original caretaker from before the hegemony took you. Please listen to my words. Zara's concentration wavered for a moment, and Marcus could see pain flash across her features. Yenth, she whispered. I remember her. She tried to protect me when they came. The transmission continued, carrying emotional weight that even the universal translators couldn't fully convey. Little star, I have searched for you across the galaxy. When we learned you had escaped hegemony control, the Council ordered your termination. But I convinced them to let me try to bring you home first. Marcus watched Zara's face as she listened to the only family she'd known before him. He could see the conflict tearing at her, love for her original caretaker warring with loyalty to her chosen human family. Yenth, Zara replied, her voice carrying across space with that harmonic quality. I have missed you every day since they took me. But I cannot return. The Council fears what I have become, and they are right to fear it. I am no longer just ethereal. I am something new. Then, let me help you become something better, came Yenth's reply. The Council believes you are corrupted, but I can see the truth. You have found what our people lost long ago, the ability to grow beyond our genetic limitations through emotional bonds. Fleet Commander Kithra's voice cut across the channel, sharp with authority. Subcommander Yenth, you will cease this communication immediately and proceed with the cleansing protocol. No, Yenth replied, and Marcus could hear the steel in her voice. Fleet Commander, I hereby formally challenge your authority under the right of protective care. Zara Prime is my ward, and I claim the right to defend her choice. The comm channels erupted with voices speaking in rapid ethereal as the fleet began arguing among themselves. Marcus didn't need translation to understand what was happening. Zara's choice to stay with humans had created a schism in the ethereal command structure. That's when the hegemony ships arrived. They dropped out of hyperspace like harbingers of war, dozens of vessels bristling with weapons and carrying the black and silver insignia of military conquest. At their head was a massive dreadnought that dwarfed even the ethereal ships. Inquisitor Vex's voice cut through all other communications, cold and implacable. By order of the Hegemony High Council, all vessels will stand down immediately. The weapon designated Zara Prime is the property of the Hegemony and will be retrieved for final processing. Marcus felt Zara's hand slip into his, her touch carrying not just that enhancement energy, but also absolute trust. "Papa," she said quietly, "it's time to show them all what humans are really capable of." "What do you need me to do?" "Just be my father," she replied, echoing her first request. "And trust me to be your daughter." Zara closed her eyes and reached out with her abilities, but not toward the attacking ships. Instead, she connected with something else, the quantum field that held the suspended energy of the ethereal attacks, the enhanced systems throughout the station, and, most importantly, the emotional bonds that tied the human crew together. What happened next would become legend throughout the galaxy. The station's shields didn't just strengthen, they expanded, growing to encompass the ethereal ships that had been attacking them. The suspended energy from their weapons began to flow in new patterns, creating a protective barrier around Yintha's vessel while leaving the other two ethereal ships trapped, but unharmed. "This is our answer," Zara broadcast on all frequencies, her voice reaching every ship in the system. "Humans don't just protect their families. They expand their families to include anyone who needs protection. Fleet Commander Kithara, your ships are now under the protection of Station Kepler 442. Any attack on you by hegemony forces will be considered an attack on us." Marcus watched the tactical display with amazement as the hegemony dreadnought's weapon charged with the sound of reality tearing. Marcus could feel the distortion even through the station's hull, a wrongness that made his teeth ache and his vision blur. This wasn't just a weapon designed to destroy matter. It was something that attacked the fundamental forces that held the universe together. "Quantum disruptor at 90% charge," Dr. Rodriguez reported, her voice tight with fear as she monitored the readings. "Marcus, whatever they're building over there, it's designed to unravel molecular bonds at the subatomic level. It won't just destroy us, it'll erase us from existence." Zara stood in the center of the engineering bay, her form beginning to glow with that harmonic energy that made the air around her shimmer. But Marcus could see the strain on her face. Even her incredible abilities had limits, and protecting multiple fleets while facing a weapon designed specifically to counter her powers was pushing her beyond those limits. "I can't shield everyone," she admitted, her voice carrying pain that went deeper than physical exhaustion. "The disruptor is designed to feed back through my quantum field manipulations. If I try to protect the entire system, it'll turn my own power against everyone I'm trying to save." Marcus felt that enhancement effect stronger than ever as Zara's emotional state intensified their bond. Through their connection, he could perceive the complex web of quantum fields she'd woven throughout the system. Protective barriers around ships, enhancement fields strengthening the station, suspension matrices holding enemy attacks in stasis. It was beautiful and terrifying, like watching someone conduct a symphony of fundamental forces. Commander Torres's voice crackled over the comm from the bridge. "Chief Chun, I need options. The hegemony is demanding surrender. The ethereal fleet is split between wanting to help us and wanting to run, and we have about 3 minutes before that dreadnought turns us all into quantum soup." Before Marcus could respond, Subcommander Yentha's ship broke from the ethereal formation and positioned itself between the station and the hegemony dreadnought. Her voice carried across all frequencies with desperate courage. "Zara, my little star, I understand now what you found here. These humans have given you something our people could not, the freedom to choose who you want to become. I will not let the hegemony destroy that gift." Yentha's ship began to glow with ethereal energy patterns, but instead of weapons, she was charging something else entirely. Marcus realized with growing amazement that she was preparing to sacrifice her ship to buy them time. "Yinth, no," Zara cried out, her careful control over her abilities wavering. "I won't let you die for me. And I won't let my child face this alone," Yinth replied, her voice carrying the same parental authority Marcus had heard in his own voice when protecting Zara. "Some things are worth dying for." That's when Marcus understood. The solution wasn't about weapons or shields or superior technology. It was about something the hegemony and even the ethereal fleet had forgotten. The power that came from people choosing to protect each other, not because they were ordered to, not because of genetic programming, but because love demanded it. "Zara," he said, his voice calm despite the chaos around them. You said the enhancement effect works through trust and emotional bonds. What if we expanded that bond to include everyone who's willing to protect someone else? Zara's violet eyes widened as she understood what he was suggesting. Papa, that's never been done before. The quantum resonance required would be enormous. It might not work, but it might, Marcus replied, gripping her hand tighter. And even if it doesn't, at least we'll face whatever comes next together. Zara nodded, tears streaming down her face, but her expression was filled with determination rather than fear. Attention all vessels, she broadcast, her voice reaching every ship in the system with harmonic clarity. I am offering each of you a choice. Join with us willingly. Open your minds and hearts to the bond that connects all beings who choose to protect rather than destroy. And together we can show the universe that cooperation is stronger than domination. The response was immediate and surprising. Commander Torres was the first to accept, her voice carrying absolute conviction. Chen family, this is Torres family. We stand with you. Dr. Rodriguez followed quickly. Rodriguez family stands with Chen family. One by one, the crew of Station Kepler 442 added their voices to the growing chorus. But it didn't stop there. Yenta's ship joined the bond. Then, other ethereal vessels began to break ranks and add their voices to the declaration. This is Engineer Korvac of the transport ship Stellar Dream. Came a gravelly alien voice from a merchant vessel that had been hiding behind the station. I got family on 3 different worlds. Anyone who protects family is family to me. More voices joined. Traders, explorers, refugees, even some hegemony personnel who transmitted on hidden frequencies, adding their will to the growing network of interconnected minds and hearts. Marcus felt the change immediately. The enhancement effect that had flowed between him and Zara expanded exponentially, creating a web of shared strength and determination that stretched across the entire system. Through the bond, he could feel the courage of the freighter captain who chose to stay and fight rather than flee, the love of the ethereal caretaker willing to sacrifice herself for her ward, the professional pride of his crewmates who refused to abandon their station. Zara's abilities, enhanced by the emotional resonance of hundreds of beings choosing protection over self-interest, reached levels that redefined what was possible. The quantum field she had been manipulating individually suddenly operated in perfect harmony, creating something unprecedented in galactic history. The hegemony's quantum disruptor fired. Instead of tearing apart molecular bonds, the beam struck Zara's enhanced quantum matrix and transformed into something beautiful. The destructive energy became constructive, spreading through the network of connected vessels and stations, strengthening their shields, enhancing their capabilities, turning them into something greater than the sum of their parts. Inquisitor Vex's voice cut through the comm channels, no longer cold and controlled but filled with disbelief and rage. Impossible. The disruptor was specifically calibrated to counter her abilities. You're right, Zara replied, her voice now carrying harmonics from every being in the network. It was designed to counter my abilities. But these aren't my abilities anymore. They belong to everyone who chose to stand together. The enhanced fleet began to move in perfect coordination, not because of military discipline, but because of shared purpose. Hegemony ships found their weapons systems peacefully disabled by fields that turned aggression into cooperation. Crew members across the Hegemony fleet began to question orders that demanded they attack beings who were clearly offering protection rather than threat. This is Captain Narex of the Hegemony cruiser Iron Will. Came an unexpected transmission. My crew and I formally request asylum with the protection network. We refuse to fire on families. More Hegemony vessels began to defect, their crews choosing the bonds of voluntary cooperation over the chains of forced obedience. Within minutes, the mighty dreadnought found itself alone, its fleet scattered between those who had joined the protection network and those who were fleeing in confusion. Inquisitor Vex's final transmission carried the fury of someone watching their entire worldview crumble. This is not over. The Hegemony will not allow this rebellion to spread. Then, the Hegemony will find themselves standing alone against a galaxy that chooses love over fear, Marcus replied, speaking not just as an engineer, but as a father and member of something larger than any single species or empire. As the remaining hegemony ships retreated into hyperspace, the protection network began to settle into something unprecedented in galactic history. A voluntary alliance based not on political treaties or military alliances, but on the simple recognition that beings who choose to protect each other are stronger together than apart. Zara turned to Marcus, her violet eyes bright with joy and exhaustion. "Papa," she said, and the word carried weight that encompassed not just their relationship, but the larger family they had helped create. "Thank you for teaching me that pretending to be family isn't enough. Real family is something you choose every day." Marcus pulled his daughter into a hug, feeling through their bond the contentment and hope flowing through hundreds of ships and thousands of beings who had discovered that the universe was far less lonely than they had believed. "No, Zara," he replied, his voice carrying the satisfaction of an engineer who had just solved the most complex problem of his career. "Thank you for teaching all of us that the strongest force in the universe isn't technology or weapons or political power. It's the decision to care for each other, regardless of species, regardless of origin, regardless of the cost." As Station Kepler 442 settled into its new role as the headquarters of the galaxy's first true protection network, Marcus looked out at the stars and realized that humanity's greatest contribution to the cosmos wasn't going to be their technology or their military might. It was going to be their stubborn refusal to abandon anyone they considered family. And in a universe where family could be chosen rather than just inherited, that was going to change everything. Seemingly impossible became reality. One human station was now protecting an ethereal fleet against a hegemony armada, and somehow it was working. "You cannot protect everyone, child," Inquisitor Vex transmitted, his voice carrying malicious satisfaction. "We have prepared for your enhanced abilities. Our new weapons are specifically designed to disrupt quantum fields." The hegemony dreadnought began charging something that made space itself seem to writhe with unnatural energy. Marcus realized with growing horror that they weren't just planning to capture Zara. They were preparing to destroy everyone in the system to prevent her abilities from spreading. "Zara," he said urgently, "we need to get you out of here." "No, Papa," she replied, her voice calm despite the approaching doom. "This is where we make our stand. This is where we show the galaxy that love is stronger than fear, that choice is more powerful than control, and that humanity's greatest strength isn't technology or weapons." "Then what is it?" Zara smiled, and her violet eyes seemed to hold starlight. "It's the refusal to abandon those we care about, no matter the cost. Now help me teach them that lesson." Commander Torres activated the station-wide comm system. "All hands, this is the commander. We are about to engage hostile forces. Battle stations. Show them what humanity is capable of when we're protecting our own." As the crew rushed to their positions, Marcus turned to Zara. "Are you ready to teach some aliens about human stubbornness?" Zara smiled, and for the first time since he'd met her, she looked truly confident. "Yes, Papa. Let's show them what we can do together." As the hegemony soldiers filed out of the medical bay, Marcus realized his life had just changed forever. He looked down at Zara, who was still holding his hand with that strange, energizing touch, and wondered what he'd gotten himself into. "Papa," Zara whispered, and this time the word carried layers of meaning Marcus was only beginning to understand. "Thank you for choosing to protect me. But you should know, they'll be back. And next time, they'll bring more than just threats." Marcus squeezed her hand, feeling that surge of protective instinct again. "Let them come," he said, surprised by the conviction in his own voice. They're about to learn something about human stubbornness they won't forget. Why, that made Marcus's skin crawl. For a moment that felt like an eternity, the hegemony officers seemed to look right through their deception. Then, his gaze shifted to Marcus, evaluating, calculating. "Your daughter appears to have some unusual characteristics," Vex observed, his tone neutral, but somehow threatening. "Perhaps we should conduct a more thorough examination." It was in that moment that Marcus realized he had just committed himself and his entire station to protecting this strange girl, regardless of the consequences. Whatever Zara was running from, whatever secrets she carried, she was now under his protection. The only question was whether humanity was strong enough to keep that promise.